Hey, it's Johnny the Coach back at you. You may have been wondering where I've been. Well, I decided to engage in what I am calling the topic of today, a little discernment, sense of discernment. I think it's an important concept that we could really use a lot more of today. I've tried recording this a few times and I didn't really have that topic in mind. But later I realized that really was what I was aiming at, discernment. I started all this just after the Charlie Kirk news. I was kind of shaken by it, and then I saw the young man who was arrested in his first court appearance. And I was just heartbroken. I see a young man sitting in a room, a stark room in a prison somewhere, alone, quiet, I don't even know if that was jail clothing or what, but sat there quietly by himself, occasionally appearing to nod his head. Now, I'm going to remind you, I am a former defense attorney, criminal defense attorney specifically. So I look at things a little bit maybe different than some do just from my experience. And my first thought was, why are they making him sit in a room by himself like this when he should be in the courtroom? He should have been brought to the courtroom to have a court appearance. But neither here nor there, my heart sank because I saw a young man whose life was in this position. Whether again, criminal defense attorney, my first thought was innocent until proven guilty. We heard a lot of things in the news right after the event, and frankly, I am one that has a lot of different ideas and a lot of questions and such, and I'm not going there with this because this channel is aimed at coaching people. But I'm using this as an example because everybody involved in this situation needed to use their sense of discernment at one time or another. Charlie Kirk would have used his sense of discernment in determining how he wanted to live his life, what he wanted to say, and the things that he was trying to share with people. Some would like it, some would not. That's true about everything, right? But that was his sense of discernment to determine how he wanted to live his life. My heart goes out to his children and his wife. They're a young family, and this is just shouldn't happen to anybody, frankly. But also my heart goes out to the young man who's been arrested. Again, I'm not going to say one way or the other what I think about whether he is the right person or not. However, I'm going to say that he would have had to use his sense of discernment to determine his steps and what he did to put himself into this position. Meaning, at one point, what I did here was that he brought himself in with his parents, and that was a decision he needed to make, and certainly using his sense of discernment to determine whether that was the appropriate move or not. Another sense of discernment with this young man is, I remember at the beginning, I kept hearing news reporters saying that the jail was saying that he was not cooperating. It's funny. Not one of them explained what they meant by not cooperating. They just said he was not cooperating, which I don't know, my sense was telling me that they were trying to tell us that he was, that they were trying to imply something. There's no implication. A person in that position has a Fifth Amendment constitutional right to not say anything. And that doesn't mean that that includes exculpatory information, because anything they say can and will be used against them in a court of law. So if not cooperating meant he wasn't speaking to them and telling them anything, Well, that should have been stated straight out because he has an absolute right not to say a word. And frankly, as an attorney, I would have advised him not to. So, if they're trying to imply something from him being silent, that's inappropriate. It should have been explained better. Now, if they're talking about he was on a hunger strike or he did something else, let's put it that way, that was not cooperative, it's a different story. But I didn't hear that. I don't know if anybody heard that. All I heard was he's not cooperating. So anyway, I'm reaching back to that sense of discernment, because discernment, actually, that's right. I looked up the word because, we all think that we know a word, and then we start to use it and realize, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm like close to it, but maybe I don't have the exact definition down. So I'm referring to, let's see, this is a definition, it looks like American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, and it is a noun, and the first definition is the act or process of exhibiting keen insight and good judgment. That's right on point to what I want to really talk about. Number 2 is very similar, keenness of insight and judgment. Number 3, the act of discerning. I always love when they have a 3 or 4 or whatever that says the act of doing what the word is. It is truly part of the definition, but it seems kind of hilarious to suggest that you need to use that. But anyway, so what I'm moving toward with all of this is to say every one of us needs to call on our own sense of discernment, our sense of right and wrong, our judgment, before saying and doing just about anything. And I think that that's something that we certainly need to see more of in, at least from what I've seen in this country. I'm not sure about other countries because I don't hear as much about them. But from what I've seen in this country, we could definitely use a much stronger sense of discernment. So I bring this up. Again, it's like I'm not trying to be on either side of anything in this case. All I'm trying to do is to use an example of something that happened that was extreme. Let's say there is somebody else who actually did this act. That person or those people needed to use their sense of discernment to determine what is right and wrong. In my view, if somebody's sharing an opinion, then the proper response to that would be to share your own and to exchange ideas as to why they may differ and what the best course would be. To to perform an act like what was done with Charlie Kirk, I have to question whether someone was really discerning in what they decided to do. So anyway, I'm using that as an example, but let's put that into your own daily life, into my own daily life. I use my sense of discernment to chill a little bit, to not post a video about a topic without being clear about what my point was. So it's really the theme of this video is discernment, and it comes really from the number of attempts I've made at talking about this topic. I think this is fascinating. I don't know about anybody else, but during this time period, after I chose the word discernment, all of a sudden I started seeing it left and right. I was reading a book, I saw it like 3 times. I was watching videos, and some of the options of things I could watch on YouTube were had discernment in their title. I'd turn on one of these that didn't have discernment in the title, and they used the word discernment. So if that's not speaking to me, I don't know what is. I've really been fascinated by the way that we interact with life, and I'm going to use the term God because that's what I believe in, to lead us in the way that we live our lives. And you know, it's fascinating. Many people will say that it's just a mirror shining back at you, something that you're putting out there. and maybe I'm putting out their discernment, and so the mirror's showing it back to me. This was a little too much, though. I think the extent to which the word was showing up in my life and in the various ways, in the various directions, various sources, suggests that maybe there's something a little different in play here. So anyway, that's really what I wanted to do. I really want to bring up the idea of the sense of discernment. I'd like people to really get comfortable with it, to really think about it if they haven't already, because there's a lot of concepts that we really don't look at and we really don't talk about in our regular course of discussion. And I think this is one that isn't brought up very much, but it's, again, drawing on your sense of right and wrong, basically, really considering that before taking actions, especially important actions. Certainly, if you're looking at either leaving a job or going into a new job, that sense of discernment is going to be an important thing to draw on to determine what your next step would be and the steps beyond that, because you're not just looking at that next step. You need to be prepared for the rest, right? A lot of people will say, don't leave a job until you have another one. I think that's a sense of right and wrong. I think that's a good and bad. So I think it's pretty darn good point of view for most people. Now, some people have the luxury of being able to just leave a job and not need one right away, or whatever each person's path might be. So that's not right for everybody. That's where the sense of discernment comes in. What's right for you as an individual and as a part of the community and as a part of the world. You're not just, like, I'm not just a coach, right? I'm somebody's friend, I'm somebody's relative, I'm somebody that somebody might see at the grocery store. There's a lot of different roles we play in life, and our sense of discernment will certainly play into how well we perform, or that act, that presence that's being called for in each situation. So, in summary, I'm going to summarize this one now. Why not? Because obviously it's a really solid word, the sense of discernment, the discernment that we need to use in our daily life. But in summary, we want to use our discernment, our understanding of right and wrong, what's good and evil, and the best way to move forward in our lives. And that's making any decision, considering anything at any time. We always want to take that into account and not just go by our emotions or jump on things based on what we thought previously, because another hour later you could be seeing things a little differently. So take your time, like I did with this video. Don't always feel like you have to jump on things. A lot of times in this day and age, we think that we need to move along quickly. This has to happen tomorrow, etc., etc. If there's not a real reason for you to need to have urgency in something, chill a little bit. Take your time. You have the right to do that. Take your rights and use your discernment. Make the best choices possible for everybody, including yourself, not just yourself. Take care, and I'll be discerning with you another time. Bye.